Any injuries that came out of the game yesterday? It looked like everybody got up pretty healthy.
Fairly clean. A few nicks and bruises, but looking at the report, pretty clean.
You had said yesterday when someone asked if keeping things under wraps may have led us. A day later, do you still feel that could be the case, or maybe not so much?
I think so. I think anytime you haven't executed exactly what you're going to do offensively in a game environment against, very good people, it's going to be hard to replicate that. And so there's that give and take there, right? Do you want to not show anything, or do you want to try and get it repped under the lights? And we chose one, and I don't know if it affected us or not, but I'm going to look into all those things moving forward.
You've got obviously a rookie quarterback that's got a lot to learn, but for you, do you see this as I'm learning as I go, kind of? Is there a part of that for you too?
Yeah, no question. It's a different level than I was coaching in before, and I've said it since Kyler got here. We're going to grow together and take some lumps together and just try to keep getting better each day, and that's our goal. And he made some huge strides there late, showing a lot of poise and mental toughness, and we can build off that. And there's a lot to clean up, and he understands that, and we'll work on that this week.
One game under your belt, what's the biggest difference coaching in the NFL to what you coach in college?
Yeah, that's a tough. I haven't really thought about that. Football is football, but there's, I'm not going to touch that one right now.
Did you learn anything from the tape that you didn't realize after the game yesterday? Was there anything new?
I think, special teams-wise, just how well those guys played. There were huge plays on special teams, whether it was Trent making an outfield tackle on punt and then recovering a fumble, and Zeke doing the same thing. Dennis with the blocked punt, that instead of being backed up in our 10, we get the ball in the 40 with the game-winning drive. And so I think just how well that group played.
You think your pace, especially in the fourth quarter when you got things going, kind of wore in their defense?
I'm not sure. I think it was a lot of plays for both sides when you throw in overtime. But I think first game, everybody's going to get used to conditioning, particularly their D-line. I don't think had played in the preseason, and so they were getting used to game conditions as well. So I think there were a lot of factors, but it was a lot of plays.
You said that there are things that Kyler needs to clean up. Examples?
I think just trusting his reads and his mechanics and his fundamentals when it does get rough. That's when you really have to rely on those things. And at times, he got out of whack a little bit on some of those things, but that's normal as a quarterback. When things aren't going well, you're going to try to do too much and force some things. And once he settled back in, I thought he played at a high level in the fourth quarter.
Look at his record. He's obviously undefeated in high school, but it was brought to my attention this morning. He had a lot of very close, tight games, and that school wasn't necessarily the best team on the planet, but he's persevered. Is that where this came from last night?
I think if you look at we did some analytics on his fourth quarter statistics last year at OU, and it's insane, his numbers. Y'all can look that up, but the completion percentage, the touchdown interception ratio, the yards per carry, that was something prior to the draft process that we really were fascinated by, was his fourth quarter stats and what he did in close ball games.
So much goes into playing to win. And what's it like waking up this morning with a tie?
I think from a coaching perspective, it's just you felt like there's a lot to build on. We know we could have played better in a lot of phases, but to see that type of resolve and guys having good energy on the sidelines even when things weren't going well, I think as a team you came out of that feeling like, hey, we'll fight together, and that's important early in the season.
Look, it's not often that you see a head coach go and sit down with the quarterback during a game. You did it yesterday. What were those conversations? What was going on there?
Just a lot of, praying, I think, at that point. No, it was just trying to make sure we're both on the same page. Hey, what are you seeing? This is what I'm seeing. What do you like? What do you think we can get going with? I like to make sure we're getting things called that he's comfortable with. And so that was really that back and forth.
Kyler obviously had that great game against Oklahoma in the second half, too, after struggling early. Do you think it's resolve, or is there a part of it about making adjustments and figuring out what defense they're trying to do to him?
I think a little of both. I think, like I said after the game, I did a poor job of getting him in rhythm early, and I think that would have made a big difference early on in that game had I chose some different play calls. But once he gets rolling, and I think a lot of it has to do with his just competitive nature. When the game's on the line, he wants the ball in his hands, and he wants to be making plays, and that's something you can't coach.
You've had a chance to see Fitz catch the balls down the field. Is that your idea going into the season, move him around, try to capitalize on matchups?
Yeah, he's one of those guys. Wherever you put him, he feels like he's open. You know, even the guys plastered right on him. He's like, just throw it to him and I'll catch it. And that's what he does. And so we're going to keep trying to use him as best we can. But he has a knack for just making plays in big moments. Obviously, he's done it his whole career. But to see it live and in person, that was pretty awesome.
After rewatching the film, what did you think of Justin Murray's play, given he had been here less than a week?
I thought he did really well, considering, you know, Thursday night we started cramming the game plan with him, and he got with our assistant O-line coach, and they spent a lot of time together just trying to get caught up. And at the pace we were playing and the tempo and a live game, I thought he handled everything really well.
What do you think Marcus's status will be for Sunday?
He'll be out for Sunday. Yeah.
When you mentioned the pressure to be creative and that kind of affecting play calling early on, how much of that is on an individual level wanting to make a splash in your debut?
Yeah, I don't think pressure was the right word. I think just the time. You have that much time all summer, and you're watching a bunch of film, and you know, you come up with newfangled ideas when you probably should have just made sure you're calling things that the quarterback's comfortable with. So I didn't feel any pressure to be creative or, hey, this is the offense we're going to run. I was just trying to score points, but I think I got a little out of whack in the play design, and it affected, you know, the entire unit.
Does that stem from wanting to prove something high?
No. It just stems from, I guess, being overly creative. I don't know. I just looking at it, we should have been doing things that we had repped more throughout the spring and summer, and I got away from that some.
Does he need a procedure, or does he just need rest?
We're still working through that.
With Larry and Kyler, what does it do for Kyler having a guy like that you can rely on in those types of situations?
I think you saw that. I mean, where he just launches it down the field to his outside shoulder and he flips his head around and makes those catches. I mean, that's a security blanket that, I mean, any young quarterback would love to have. And then games on the line there at the end, you know, you just get it close and he makes a play. And that's huge to just know, if I get it close to this guy, I got a chance for him to come down with it.
What did you see from Kyler's communication on the field with the other players, trying to get everyone lined up and all that?
I thought, you know, he handled things well operationally for the most part. Once we got in our groove and had some sustained drives, I thought that it ran pretty smoothly.
This team is so drastically different than last season, but last year they only scored more than 27 once. So do you guys still use stats like that as a measuring stick when you're trying to see how successful you are?
No, I don't think at this point. I think it's just all about wins and losses, and whatever it takes to win a game is what we're trying to score and what we're trying to hold people to. So statistically, we're not too concerned about what it looks like. We just want to find a way to win.
Even for individuals, too, like if you look at David Johnson's numbers or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have a team that, after going through last year, particularly those guys that were here, like David, they want to win. And whatever they have to do to find a way to win, is they're going to do it.
Do you think Murray showed enough at right tackle to be your starter going forward, or is that somewhere you're still kind of juggling, you know, what you want to do there long term?
It was a good start, no question. We're obviously going to continue to try to upgrade the roster every week and have workouts and see where that goes. But for that short of notice, I thought he performed at a high level.
How did the offensive line do as a whole?
I thought, you know, pretty good versus a very stout defensive line. I mean, they're a good front, have some Pro Bowl type players, and did a good job. You know, I thought just battling in the run game. I think we averaged close to 5 yards a carry, which was good, and then protected well for the most part. But that's a really good front.
Did you run the ball a little bit more yesterday?
Yeah, I think once you get down 24-6, it's kind of out the window. So I think the numbers got a little skewed there. I felt like going into the fourth, it was one way, and then we kind of had to throw it every time.
Who got the game ball?
Nobody for a tie. Yeah, we don't. Nobody. No, not for a tie. I don't. It's a unique ending to a game.
How about looking ahead to Baltimore? These two offenses, kind of interesting what the Ravens are doing with Lamar, obviously, and kind of what Kyler's kind of doing as well. How interesting is that to you as a coach who does concepts like that?
I think it's two very dynamic playmakers, no question. Could be the future of football if they continue to work and develop. And thought it was awesome that Lamar did it with his arm yesterday. I mean, you listen all season that he can't throw, and then he comes out and does that. You got to tip your hat to the guy because he's a heck of a player.
Do you think Andy Isabella is going to carve out a role on the offense anytime soon, or is he kind of strictly a special teams piece right now?
He will. He's still just developing, and he's behind some really, really good players inside there in Fitz and Kirk, and so it's hard to take reps from those guys at this point. But he's got some dynamic speed and some traits that will make him a really good player one day.
Do you anticipate Crabtree playing Sunday?
I do.
Quarterbacks' running skills tend to overshadow their passing skills in a situation like Lamar.
Just because it's more unique, I think that's it. I think if you can run, then people tend to peg you as a runner, but that's not necessarily true.
What would you like to see Kyler do on that throw to Keyshawn Johnson? Is he trying to make the throw or trying to throw it out of bounds?
I think he was in that fog of war in between state, and you just got to cut that loose. The party's over and throw that out of bounds, and especially early in the game like that.
You just mentioned that the roster, you're going to continue to try to improve the roster workouts. Are there any workouts scheduled this week?
We had some workouts today with some tackles.
Can you mention?
No, I'm not going to get into names, but we're going to continue, like I said, to bring those guys in as we work through Marcus's situation.
So this makes his homecoming. What are your thoughts about him after a 2-sack game going back home, probably amped up?
Yeah, to see those guys, 37 and 36-year-old out there, making plays like that, it's pretty incredible. And he'll have a lot of juice going back to Baltimore. He's a Hall of Fame talent, did incredible things there, and I know he'll be excited to play.
David Johnson showed his receiving ability on that touchdown in particular. What kind of asset is he for you as a play caller, knowing he can do stuff down the field?
That was a heck of a catch, and he can adjust the ball in the air and do some things that wideouts can, and we'll keep using him in that role. Just a really good all-around back.
How much do you tap into Terrell this week, just in terms of the Baltimore defense and what you're going to look at?
Yeah, we'll pick his brain a little bit and kind of see his thoughts on things and where they're at and how he feels that maybe we can attack some things.
How did Reddick come out of that?
How did he play?
That.
Oh, healthy? Yeah, he's healthy. Yeah, I thought, he did some good things, and we'll continue to work him back in.
Coach, thank you.